How's it going, everyone? This is Logan Holzmeyer with 1584 Adventure. With me is my co host, Brian.
Hello. How's everybody doing today?
Today we have a pretty good adventure we both went on. This has been quite a while. It took us a while to get the podcast going, and it just took a little bit. But this trip happened November 28th through the 30th of 2023.
Yep.
Dad, why don't you go into a little bit background on I guess I should tell everyone what we're doing first. So we took a 56-hour tuna trip with Dolphin Docks out of, is it Port Aransas or are they in Corpus?
They're in Port Aransas.
Okay. Uh, it was a 56-hour trip on deep sea coast fishing.
Yes.
We went 80 to 120 miles out.
Pretty much, yeah.
So how did you, because you told me about Dolphin Docks like 10 years ago on our first 10-hour trip.
So basically 10 years ago. But the fact is, I've been going down there since I was a kid.
Yeah.
In the 70s. And there's two basic party boat companies out of there. There's Dolphin Docks and there's Fisherman's. I think it's Fisherman's Wharf.
I think they got bought out in the past few years, but I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah.
So the gist is you can go on a Scat Cat or you can go with this group. Both of which are top notch.
Yes.
Yeah, the catamaran boats, they ride a little more stable, and maybe they're faster, maybe they're not. I don't know.
Yeah,
but we've been wanting to do a tuna trip. We tried it a couple times. Tried to go out of Galveston a couple times.
Yeah, we had that reschedule on that 30-hour trip
a
couple years ago, and we did a 36-hour trip with
Dolphin
Dolphin.
Docks.
Yeah.
And that was the bomb. It wasn't a tuna trip, though.
No, it was not.
It was basically a snapper and other.
It's primarily snapper and whatever else you could catch.
Yeah. But we loaded the boat.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not going to. There's nothing bad to say about that.
No, I love that trip, and that trip was one of the funnest trips I've had.
Yes.
So then we did that in 2022, and part of that was a gift from my mom to Dad for that trip, and the other gift it was a Christmas gift from 2021.
Yeah.
But the gift from my brother and I was fishing rod, fishing reel, and some tackle.
Yes.
And then we did that, and they were like, hey, you know what? It's 36-hour trip. It's pretty easy. Let's do the 56-hour trip. Or the 80-hour trip. Which one should we do first?
Well, we did the 56, and Logan and his brother wasn't available for that, and that's okay. In hindsight, I'm the only one that's good with 56 plus hours.
I got a little sick on the trip out, so I got sick on the trip out, and it was the absolute roughest I've ever seen it. You might have seen it worse, but I've never seen it worse than that.
Well, no, because I didn't really start doing these kind of trips without y'all until y'all. When I was young and we would go to the coast, it was all either beach fishing or pier fishing. And I don't think this one was any rougher than your first one going out of Port Isabel. It was just a lot longer.
It was longer, and I wasn't a kid.
Yeah.
I was a kid the first that trip.
Yeah, you were a kid that trip.
And the big problem I have with this trip, the way it worked out, because we actually had this one scheduled a month earlier.
Yeah.
It was in November, so it was hunting season. Like spending hours on a boat doing nothing. Like I could be back home hunting, then go back to the house, eat waffles, then go back hunting or do something. That's what was going through my mind. So that doesn't work for me during hunting season. So I would probably be open to it earlier than hunting, but I won't do it after November 1st. Watch out. Okay. So what gear did we bring?
So we thought we were doing good. So
we were really prepared on the 36-hour trip. There's one other person
on the
there.
36-hour or a deep drop trip, or a snapper trip, we were actually pretty good. Not wild deep drop.
Yeah.
But 300 feet.
I have
400 feet.
A heavy boat rod that's 80 to 120 pound line.
Yeah.
And it has a Eat My Tackle H13 reel.
Yeah.
Pretty conventional reel, similar to a Penn Senator. On the tuna trip, I didn't even really get to use it because, not the tuna trip. On the 36-hour trip, I didn't use it a whole bunch because it was just way overgunned.
Yes.
The rod is right. The rod is a correct rod I need for this tuna trip.
I will agree.
The 2-speed reels that we got to use that were the guides.
Yes.
Were the absolute shit. And my little H13 was not up to the task.
So, on the 56-hour trip, I carried a Penn Rampage in the 8,000 series reel.
Is that the spinning rod or the conventional?
That's a spinning rod.
Okay.
I carried a conventional Penn Fathom, I think.
Okay.
Which is a single speed.
Yeah, that's the one we gave you.
80-pound braid and a 80-pound top shot. I also carried a Penn 8,000 series on a 6-foot spinning rod for jigging and everything. So, and I'll say, per the captain of the ship, going out of Dolphin Docks on their, is that the Dolphin Express?
Yeah, we went on the Dolphin Express for the 56-hour trip.
Per that captain, that boat kills more yellowfins in the Gulf of Mexico than any other headboat.
Catches it. They're not going out there and killing they catch the most yellowfin.
Yes.
And the captain was straight up about that when we got on the boat.
Yes,
He's like,
was.
We are going to catch fish. We're going to limit out. Everyone's going to get one minimum.
Yeah. Yeah. And
he delivered on that. He absolutely did.
They did.
But
and if you hadn't been on a Gulf of Mexico yellowfin trip, when you see 100-pound, 120-pound yellowfin breach chasing flying fish.
Yeah, they were chasing flying fish and anything else I would jump.
And when you hadn't seen a herd of them.
And it's going probably 50 miles an hour.
20
60
of them charging with a school of flying fish, and they're breaching, they're porpoising.
It's amazing.
It's a different deal.
So on this, as I mentioned, I have my big heavy boat rod. I also had an Okuma power rod. How old is that thing? 70s?
Yeah, probably a 70s issue.
It's a pretty good rod. And it's one of those rods you look at and go, okay, that will be great for red snapper or anything of that variety. And this was not that trip. On it, I had a Cast King 90R, which is a 9,000 series.
Yeah.
I think the reel's good. I want to get the handle redone because it's a little jicky. But I also had a cheap surf rod because I needed a casting rod. It was a 7-foot. It's called Coastal Tough. I bought it for $25 at Walmart. And I had a 10,000 series reel, Sugong Yang. I've actually got it right here. Yeah, Sugong Yang. That's the way I'm pronouncing it. If it's wrong, I don't care. And that's what I use for casting. So, Dad, we didn't do a lot of deep dropping on this.
So, on one side of the boat was all deep drop or chunking for blackfins and smaller tuna. the other side of the boat, which was near the rigs, under the lights, it was all casting. It was all Halco 120s, some poppers.
Uh,
I think I threw a jig or two.
I could have probably thrown my squid bait
Yeah, yeah.
that would have worked really well.
It was a world class eye opener.
Mm-hmm.
120-pound yellowfins, they ain't no joke.
No, they aren't.
It is.
What type of line did you use, and what?
So what I thought I was properly geared for was throwing 60-pound hollow core braid with a 60-pound mono tippet, leader, whatever you want to call it, about 4 foot long.
Okay.
With an FG knot.
Yep.
Now I was throwing a Halco on that. I threw some poppers. I threw a couple jigs on what I thought was going to be okay, because I was expecting us to mostly be targeting blackfins.
Yes.
We were not.
No. So I had on my heavy rod, I had I think 80-pound braid. Not sure of the brand, and I had I think 100-pound top shot. Which one thing we learned on the boat, they don't want you to have a very long top shot. They only wanted 20 feet maybe.
Oh yeah, no, like 8 feet.
Yeah, because I put on, I think I put on 20, 30 foot top shot.
Had about a 20-foot top shot.
And came back and like, why is my top shot gone?
and the deckhands modified it for that, for us.
And it worked out great, and that's what they wanted.
I mean, it was one of them deals where I would have preferred them to ask, but they just kind of went down the line, and anyone who had a big top shot, they cut it down to about 5 feet.
So on my spinning rod, I had 50-pound braid power cat. So I think that's kind of it on all the gear, really.
Well,
we did not have 40 pounds of weight like we did on the 36 hour.
I brought 4 rods. I brought 4 rods. I brought my deep drop rod, which is a pin. I forget. I have a pin conventional on it. It's an 80 to 100-pound rod. I had 80-pound braid and a 80 or 100-pound top shot. Then I had a Penn 8000 series spinning rod on a 5.5 foot or a 6 foot spinning rod, which I'd kind of set up as jigging.
Yeah.
Then I had a Penn, like I said, Squall 2 or something.
Yeah.
With an 8,000 or 6 or 8,000 pound bait runner spinning. And then I have a my snapper rod.
Yeah. So the other rod I had was
what is it?
I don't know what your snapper rod is.
I forget.
I think
it's got a 7,000 series Abu made with Sweden.
Oh, that's the Ugly Stick King.
Yeah, Ugly Stick.
So I also brought another boat spinning rod that is 80 to 100 pound, and it has a 12,000 series Dr. Fish. And I will say the reel I really enjoyed that reel. I've dragged a bunch of stuff over sandbars with it because I also use it for on my surf rod, and it held up pretty well when I had some stuff on it. So we went down the night before. There's it's still technically Port Aransas where we stayed.
Where we stayed at the hotel is actually Port Aransas.
Okay.
Some of us are way past driving down the night before and sleeping in the cab of the truck or even in the
I'm going to tell you, all of us were past that because it was really great. We went down there the day before. Hotel was really nice in my opinion.
Hotel was pretty good.
We got to meet up with my brother who lives in that area. We went over to Roy's, not Roy's.
Yeah, we actually went to Roy's.
He had to drop off some reels to get worked on. And we got, just spent a great night with my brother and had a beautiful sleep the next morning. Woke up about 2:30.
Woke up early, but without having driven for 6 hours.
Yes.
Made the hour and a half jump over.
We had a stop at the ferries because there's a ferry system there, but it runs quick. Even at night, it runs quick.
Certainly at that point, the only people that are on the ferry are the ones going to fish.
Yep.
And they get it in gear.
And we showed up. I think we were like the fourth person there for our trip. So. We were probably an hour too early, but it's one of those things. First trip, not a problem. Dude showed up in a Corvette and started taking stuff out. He hopped on. Dude showed up with his granddaughter. They started unloading stuff. And I think there's one other group that was like us, and this was the first trip. Everyone else was, no, there was 2 or 3 other people. Yeah. But boarding went pretty easy. Like, hey guys, come in. Bring all your ice chest first.
Ice chest first. On this trip, on the trip where we did, there's no food. On a 56-hour trip, you bring your own food, you bring your own groceries and drinks. They have beer and water in there,
but no, there's nothing you can buy food wise.
Yeah, you need to bring all your own food, and we did pretty good on that.
Mm-hmm.
We had red beans and rice, and
you ate red beans and rice. I had several Lunchables, crackers, stuff like that. I also cooked some sausage, and that was actually really good.
Yeah.
The only thing I needed to include was some ketchup.
Yep.
But that worked great.
But on the 56-hour trip, you just got to be prepared.
Yes. And we had overthought that.
we had overthought that a little bit.
But we brought one of the green ice chest.
Yeah.
Pretty standard ice chest. Everyone else did too. No one even brought one dude brought a Yeti.
Yeah. I mean, we had my big rolling ice chest, and it had frozen food or pre-prepared frozen meals, water, I think.
Yeah. So that worked out great. We went on used their boat, the Dolphin Express, which is 80.
That's their biggest boat.
That's their biggest boat. It's like 80 something feet.
95 feet.
95. The last boat we went on was La Pesca on their 36-hour trip, and it had 2 decks. The below deck was where everyone slept and had really nice bunks. I will say the bunks on La Pesca were better than Dolphin Express, just comfort wise.
Not gonna argue that.
Because this one was, you walked into the cabin and bunks are on the right and on the left, and the center is clear until everyone puts their ice chest in the middle, and they're three rows high.
So I will say that the Dolphin Express is V-hull boat, and this was a rough trip.
Yeah.
Originally, seas were posted to be 5 to 7 feet. I'm going to tell you there were 8 to 12.
Yeah. I wouldn't be
minimum.
There was a couple that were topping, I think, 15.
Yeah.
Especially when we came back.
Yeah. On the way back, I was on the bottom bunk, and I think Logan was.
I was too. We both kind of got lucky. Deck level, all the way up at the front.
It threw me out twice.
It didn't throw me out because I got sick. I got, I did really good for about an hour, and then it just happened. Got up, walked outside, and puked. Got smacked in the face by a wave. Puked some more. Walked back inside, and old farts looking like, you look like shit. Well, yeah, that's what happens when you puke. It gave me some seasickness medicine. They're like, hey, just eat this. And like 2 hours later, he looks at me and goes, I've never seen someone get over being sick like that. I'm like, I ain't got time to be sick.
It was rough. And it was rough at times during the fishing.
Yeah.
If you're standing on the front of the boat and it's going up and down 5 or 6 feet, that is not for the weak-minded or for the weak-willed.
Yeah. And it's a 10 hour trip out.
That's about 8 hours to the near rig. So,
Okay.
so we hammered our way out.
Yeah, there was no let off on throttle
We
at all.
left the dock at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And basically 8 hours later, we pull up out and they're like, okay, we're going to troll. And they and the deckhands put out with the deckhands equipment 4 or 5, sets, and we're trolling. And they draw for numbers. Everybody draws for a number.
Yep.
Whatever your deck number is, or I forget how they pick the numbers, but I ended up being number 2.
I think they just assigned it because they knew.
I kind of think they did, if I remember right.
Because I don't remember a hat being passed around or anything. So,
we drew for numbers and they started trolling. About 5 minutes in it, one of the rods get hammered. And the way that works is everybody on the boat gets a chance to crank that rod
till the fish is in.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what it is. It might be a snapper, it might be a tuna, it might be a sword.
Might be the trashiest fish you've ever seen.
Whatever's on the end of that. The first guy plays out after about 5 minutes, so they call for number 2. I step up. The rod is in a rod holder. It's got a senator on it. I start cranking.
A big senator.
A big senator. 8,000 series senator. 8 or 12,000 series senator. I start cranking. It's about 110-pound yellowfin. And they're like, hey, you need a break? You need a break? I'm like, oh, no, we're bringing fish in. I'm not quitting. And, I'm going to tell you, if you think you want to do this and you're not from that area, you need to go get you the biggest conventional you can find, a brick, a cinder block, and walk it out 1,000 feet and crank it in twice a week.
Yep.
2 or 3 times a week.
Yep.
Or a Frisbee, hook it up to your conventional, put 20 pounds on it, and crank it 1,000 feet.
So, my first experience, I had a little trouble with we started throwing halcos after the trolling because we didn't do trolling for very long. No. We got in that big 110 that you caught and with another fish. That was it.
Yeah, they had another big tuna.
Yeah.
100.
Yeah, Dad was number 2. I was like number 29, or I was a second to last person. But when going over my casting rod for the halcos, I noticed the screw that held on my little handle to my knob to the handle had disappeared. And Jason, who was the first mate,
one of the mates.
Well, he was the one in charge of the others.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm like, hey man, you got anything to fix this? He's like, no, we don't. And I went inside and I found some sandwich bags, and I had the knob and the pedestal that the knob is supposed to sit over. So I put the sandwich bags over the pedestal and I squished the knob back onto the pedestal, and that gave me a pretty good friction bite.
Yeah.
But it's something that wears out. I'm like, hey, Jason, you got any electrical tape? He's like, yeah, hold on. But during that process, someone got hooked up, and I'm like, Jason, I need my rod. I need to fit. And I finally got it, and it worked. I mean, it's still on it right now.
Yeah.
But started casting out. I don't know. I'm not even sure how long I actually casted till I got hooked up on a fish.
It wasn't very much. I will tell you.
It was the best action ever. It really was.
So we pulled up.
But on my
during the day, in the late day, and there are tuna blowing up. There are tuna greyhounding. There's tunas going everywhere. And we're close to the rig.
Mm-hmm.
We get closer to the rig, and Logan hooks up.
Hey.
Go ahead.
So I'm using that $20 surf rod, and I'm casting out, dragging over, and I'm getting hit a couple times. Just one of those things you learn as you go. And I hook into one, and boy, was that fun! And the deckhand JC's like, "All right, let's go up to the bow because that's where we fight these things." Okay, we'll get up to the bow, and he's like, "What kind of line you got on there? 50 pound?" Like, "Are you sure?" Like, "Yes." Like, "It ain't holding up like 50 pounds." Well, it is. I mean, I fought this thing 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah,
And
about 20 minutes.
captain's up next to me, and the way they take out these tuna, as soon as you get it to the surface, captain pulls out and smacks it in the head with a gun or shoots it.
Yeah.
And like, we're done, we're not fighting it. And their thought process is you smoke down that drag and you yank it, you crank it, and you could just go and pull it. And now it was dragging. I mean, this is a 10,000 series reel, and it was dragging line off of it like it was no other. And it was a big one. It was over 100-pound yellowfin. We got all the way up to the surface, and boom, my rod snaps right above my grip. And I'm like, point at it. Like, I'm trying to, but the reel stopped. Because when it broke, it jammed the reel too.
Yeah.
I just needed one extra minute of it up on the surface, and the captain would have had it.
Yeah.
So broke my rod, broke the line, and they look at me like, "This is the damnedest thing I ever seen." I'm like, "Fuck!"
So,
And at this point, the fun fishing was Halco fishing, and
yeah.
that's what I wanted to do at this point. Like, damn. So I had to go get my big boat rod. That's a spinning rod, and that was not fun casting that, but I did cast it.
So on the way out, the captain comes down. He gives everybody a briefing, and he goes, "On this boat, we don't play fish. We crank them to the rail, and we get them aboard."
Yep.
He wasn't joking.
And
if you want to go with Captain Tim, and if you're going to go on a head boat, there's no one I'd recommend is beyond Captain Tim.
Yes, I was very impressed with him.
It is a full contact. It is a fist fight.
Yes.
I'm not joking. I don't, there's no downside to that. There's nothing, but it is if you're not prepared to walk out on the deck and fist fight a 120-pound yellowfin, then maybe you need to go with someone else.
I will say I kind of suffered because the muscles on between my bones on my forearm, on my left arm, had cramped up real tight the week before. So when they worked us in on the other rods, I had a hard time holding on to the reel like I needed to. And I mean, I fought 3 or 4 fish before I ever got close to getting one in again.
I'm going to say that between Logan and I, we had at least 12 big yellowfins.
Yes.
So I have a conventional rod that is a 6.5 foot ugly stick tiger deal.
Yeah, King Tiger, I think it is.
With a 7,000 series Swiss made Abu. And I had 50-pound braid with a 60-pound top shot, and it was completely and utterly underclassed for yellowfins.
It would have really well on the black fins.
Yeah, had I been on the other side of the boat where they were chunking and jigging for black fins, it was probably perfect. I've had it caught 30-pound snappers.
Yep.
It's been on 2 or 3 deep drop snapper and style trips. It's perfect for that. It's sporty, but you can manhandle them. It is completely wrong for these trips.
Yeah.
For the late winter, Dolphin Docks, Captain Tim, yellowfin trips.
I think any yellowfin over 70 pounds is probably inadequate.
I hooked 2 yellowfins on it and never turned them around. Never.
So,
And I mean, throwing a Halco 120, and I can throw them on this rig.
Yeah.
And fish them properly, and stuck them good. I mean, stuck them good. The Abu 7000 wasn't up to it.
No.
You know, the rod probably wasn't up to it either, but the Abu 7000, it was just, it wasn't up to it.
No, it wasn't. And like I said, I had brought my Okuma power rod, and after breaking the surf rod, I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to mess with that. We're just going to do big boat rods.
Yeah.
So Dad, go over what fish you caught by yourself.
So on this, after the big yellowfin that we caught trolling on the way out to the rigs, I caught about a 70-pound yellowfin on my pin setup.
Okay.
It was on the light end of that.
Yeah.
Needed a much better deal. Also caught a 45-pound Jack Crevalle.
Okay.
That the deckhands all thought was a 60-pound yellowfin up until we pulled it up to the top. That rig now is relegated to barracuda and casting to other species.
If we're going to target yellowfin, that rod's not really coming out.
That rod's not coming out. I've upgraded. I've got a Daiwa dark water 7-foot tuna stick to throw halcos on a 10,000 series pen, and that's probably a minimum.
Yeah, you probably 12 or 13,000 series reel.
Yeah,
and man, the rods.
So on these trips, thinking about it, on these trips where we're throwing halcos, you're throwing poppers, you're not deep dropping for yellowfins. I think a 10 is about right.
Yeah, the only reason I say a 12 or a 13 is because you might hook that 140. And if you hook a 140, 140-pound yellowfin,
yeah,
a 10 might not have the gear strength to hold up to that.
well,
The way I felt because one I caught on the white rod.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know.
Well, you never know. You never know what you're throwing at, what's going to grab. I mean, I bounced that halco off the rig, and that jackfish hit it immediately. But if you're catching them at halco depth or popper depth,
yeah,
the odds of them going to 15,000 series reel depth,
yeah,
you don't need that. And the gist of that is that's all line capacity say.
Yeah, some of it is, yeah.
For the most part. So they're already in the top half of the water column. So you're going to fight them in the top half of the water column.
Yeah.
If you hit a big bluefin or something like that, they might get down below that. But the line capacity is on a 10. It's probably really all you need.
Okay.
And being able to cast it.
Yeah.
And I'll say, the first mate, captain.
Yeah, both of them. They were really good at casting. If you threw a Cheerio out there, they probably could have casted inside of it.
So I can cast. I can cast with the best of them. I've been doing this all my life. The first mate and the captain, the first people I've been impressed with in about 40 years. Those dudes stood on one side of the deck, casted over everybody without a problem. It made it look easy.
So another thing they were doing, the first mate Jason and one of his other guys, they were fishing alongside of us. They'd get hooked up and call us out by number.
Yeah.
Hey, come over here, get this. And that's really about half the boat how they caught their fish. And that's how I caught my fish.
Yeah.
The one I kept, the big yellowfin I kept. I actually caught a couple other small stuff. And that was really great. And I will say the deckhands were right there with you when you had
Yes.
a problem. They were right there with you when you were reeling. I had to trade out several times. But
yeah, I will say
top notch service.
if you haven't done this and you want to go on a head boat, go to the gym.
Yes. You need to do get some forearm exercise for sure.
There's forearm, lower back. It's a lot different than you think it is.
Oh, and the other part of this, the weather stayed consistent the entire time. 8 to 12 foot.
Shit.
Yeah. And the way we were doing the Halco part was Captain Tim would run the boat to where we'd be drifting with the waves past the oil rig, but we might pass that oil rig in 45 seconds on some of the fast stuff. It was quick.
You might get 2 or 3 casts.
And you might not, and it was quick. You had to be on point if you were going to fish hard. Yeah. And I'll give credit. The guys who've gone on this regularly, they were fishing hard.
Yeah. Yeah. The guys had done this before, and we weren't that group. No. But we were adapting, improvising.
And we were doing real good for first timers on this level of trip.
Yes.
Good. The trip itself is a whole new level. The weather itself was a level we weren't prepared for. I wasn't prepared for. So I caught the big yellowfin. The interesting part was we got to the last really 6 hours of the trip, and Captain Tim was like, okay, guys, the way we're going to do this, we got about 10 people who don't have a big yellow right now.
Yeah.
We're going to work y'all in. We're going to, as soon as we get a fish on the hook, we're going to hand the rod over to you, and we're going to get you in.
Yep.
And it went quick.
It did.
Up to the last 2 people, me and another dude. And at this point, Captain Tim was wanting to be done with it, and he was loving it too.
Oh yeah, that dude's a killer.
And he's like, "Hey, you need to be right by me so you can get that rod." An hour later, he looked at me, "Get the fuck away from me!" So there's always superstition in fishing.
Yep.
And you don't mess with the system.
No.
And we learned that because guess what? It took us an hour and a half to hook up to the next yellowfin.
Yeah.
Where before it was every other cast to hook up.
Yeah.
So. And I was a second to last person to hook up and fought it. And I'm like, man, no. We got 2-speed Shimano, I think is with the reel we were on. And I was
Shimano or AVET. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was cranking hard. I was almost crying at the end. I was cranking it so hard. And we got it in. Tim put 3 rounds in its head. I'm like, finally, it is complete.
Yeah. So there is, if you're going to do this, short of a private charter, there's no reason not to go to Dolphin Docks and do a trip with Captain Tim.
Even the captain on the 36-hour trip,
yeah,
he was more than excellent, and he did great as well. And so did all the deckhands on that.
The captain on that 36-hour trip a year earlier, he was all over it. And the 36-hour trip, okay, you're going to catch 2 days worth of snappers. You're going to catch as many beeliners as you can. So and then I think they're allowed 1 big shark per boat.
Yeah, it depends on if the captain wants to deal with it.
Trying to catch a big shark for a guy.
Okay.
Logan and I hooked up on a big shark that stole my snapper.
This is on the 36-hour trip.
On the 36-hour. and he and I fought it for 20 minutes.
Yep.
On my heavy conventional rod.
And I hooked up the dude next to me on the opposite side of the boat. He hooked into a shark and he was fighting it for about 20 minutes. And then I hooked into it, but I didn't have a big conventional. I had a
Beeliner series rod.
I had a catfish rod. I had that tournament choice catfish rod with a pin level wind on it, 209.
Yeah.
It was perfect. It's perfect for beeliners and snappers. Luckily, the dude next to me had a big conventional, and we both reeled that shark in. But let's get back on the 56-hour trip. What was the best highlight of the trip? Because I want to tell you, for me, it was the best deckhand, the very best deckhand on that boat.
So I'll say, for me, is the first day when we got near the rigs. I think there's a grass line or something there. I forget what, but it was still daylight. We could see the flying fish flying and panicking, and could see a whole herd of yellowfins charging the flying fish, and watching them greyhound out of the water and then jump out of the water attacking the flying fish.
Can you imagine that on a calm day? It would have been so fucking beautiful.
So if you've ever seen sand bass or stripers or black bass schooling on shad or herring or whatever you have in your local, imagine that, but it's 100 pounds. It's the size of an ice box coming out of the water. 3 feet of elevation, 20 feet of lateral movement.
Yep.
That's what it's like.
Going 50, 60 miles an hour sometimes.
Whatever they can do.
So for me, the fishing highlight was breaking the rod. That was just that was the best story of the trip.
It was.
The second best part of it was a dude looking like, I never seen someone get over being sick. Like, I ain't got time to be sick, dude. But the most shocking part of the trip was the best deckhand of all. That dude's granddaughter.
Oh yeah, there was a young girl on this trip.
And when we say young, she was 10, maybe
8,
10.
Maybe, probably 8, between 8 and 10.
Yes.
And this girl, they ain't no one in her life ever going to call her finger. She was up for the moment.
Anything and everything that needed someone to be there, she was there.
Yeah. If the deckhands were chasing flying fish, she was there pointing them out.
Yep.
If you were fighting a tuna, she was there encouraging you.
She caught quite a few blackfin.
Yeah, she did. And she caught a couple yellows with her grandpa's help.
Yes.
Her
grandpa knew how to fish tuna, though.
Yeah.
He really did.
I'll give him credit. He's a Louisiana hillbilly, but he knew how to catch tuna.
But she, like I said, these are big waves. They're putting us through the ringer, and she is there holding on, and never once was she trying to. There's 3 or 4 men, grown men, in the cabin, sick. Like, I can't do this. Like, get out there, at least be outside. But no, she was out there every time.
Yeah. Yeah, that young lady, she's from Louisiana, I didn't ask, but yeah.
So
she was full contact, no helmet, hat down, all for 2.5 days.
Yeah. For the only time she was not was on the trip in and out. That was it. And she probably was. She just wasn't.
It was time for everybody to take a nap.
Yeah.
Let's face it. I took a whore bath, and
it was a little challenging using the restroom.
it was a little rough.
But so we came back in I think the trip out was right at 8.5 hours, and the trip in was right at 10, because it is a long trip.
It was a long trip, and I will say, no matter what, it was rough. It was rough,
and it got rougher on the way in.
So Logan and I both had deck level bunks. Yep. And I got rolled out of mine twice.
There was a dude on not. He was on the third level, so top
Yeah.
bunk.
Yeah.
On the next row over, well, down from me, who fell off.
Yeah.
Luckily, he landed on his feet, but it was full con. The only dude who did not fall off from the second row that I know of is a dude who was sleeping above me, and that's because he had a ratchet strap or some type of strap system. Like, yeah, I do this all the time. I know how this rolls.
So I don't get seasick. Logan generally doesn't.
No.
But I crawled into my bunk on the way home, on the way in.
You took like a 2-hour nap.
I took like a 5-hour
Okay.
nap. I emptied a flask of Glenfiddich.
Yep.
Crawled my ass in there and still got thrown out of the bunk twice.
I think I managed to get an hour and a half nap and then maybe a 1 hour nap later. Yeah. It's just not my thing. I always have trouble sleeping on trips like that, but not a big deal. I just power through it.
Yeah. It is what it is. It's part of the adventure life.
And I will say, overall, it was real good company on that trip. Lots of people were very interesting. They had some cool stories. Some people were probably posing a lot.
There was a couple LARPers.
They didn't like the fact that we knew about the place they were talking about.
Yeah,
we're not going to throw shade on him, but basically, he was talking.
No, we're going to throw some shit on him.
He was talking about a trip. He was talking about a place he loved to go hunt. I'm like, oh yeah, my brother worked there for like 5 years.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been on every edge of that place.
And you want to big dog it. You might want to make sure you're the right dog in the room.
He did not stick around us.
No, he did not. And I will say that poor dude, he was sick as shit.
He was.
He and his partner were seasick.
Yep.
They spent way too much time in their bunk. If you're going to go on one of these and you don't know, get some Dramamine.
Yep.
No one cares. No, it's not a pee measuring contest.
No,
you
it's not.
Start taking Dramamine 2 or 3 days in advance, and then take some, every day.
Yep.
No one cares.
Yep.
It's not a deal. I've never been sick. Logan had never been sick till this trip.
So I have vertigo, and that's probably what kicked it in this trip. And even then, I really didn't get sick. I didn't feel puny, but there's a little difference between what I did.
Yeah.
I stayed sitting upright, not laying down on the bunk. I sat on the tables and over on the table area, and I ate crackers slowly. Got my strength up. Then I stayed outside the entire trip. I mean, there was a stretch of like probably 4 or 5 hours I didn't fish at all, but I did not go back inside the boat. Never go back in the cabin. If you're sick, stay outside.
Yes.
Because you're not going to get better in the cabin, because that's the point that moves the most.
Yeah.
That's the most movement. And if you're outside, you can see the horizon. You can focus on stuff, or you can just look around and be where the action is.
And, that kind of goes a couple of ways. Not being a person that gets motion sickness or seasick or any of that. I really don't have
anything to go off
a background on that, other than if you're on a boat and you're on a headboat, stay your ass out of the cabin.
Yep. Mine kicked off. I mean, I was asleep, sleeping on the bottom bunk, like just. Why am I awake? Oh, that's why I'm awake. Okay. Work our way out of the bunk, work our way down the aisleway, because all the ice chests are moving about. So get outside, like, and I came real close to getting myself talked out of it. I mean, this close, and like walk back in. Okay, got it. And about the time that old dude who gave me the Dramamine looked at me, you okay? Nope. Walked outside and puked. That's it. So there's 2 or 3 guys that got pretty sick. Everyone else was pretty good.
Yeah, there's a couple guys
There's one dude who
that
extremely talkative and just not in the way anyone really liked listening to. But he kind of stayed sick, so that made everyone's trip a little better. I got to watch one dude bust his ass. A dude, I swear he drank 4 gallons of tea. I saw
the
him.
whole part.
Yeah, I saw
and
him
I'm with
drink 2 gallons of tea by myself on one day.
Yeah.
And he pulled out a Tupperware pitcher from the 70s, filled up a 44-ounce tumbler.
Yeah.
Didn't have the lid on it, took a step, and we hit a big wave, and he, whoo, straight, legs out, flat back. He bounced up within a second, like, my tea! And he is literally, you can see it in his mind. He is wanting to get down there and lick the tea off the floor.
Yep. So on these 56-hour trips and other trips, when they say you need to bring your own food,
Mm-hmm.
some of them it's 50 hours, some of it's 60 hours, some of it's 56. Think about doing things that you're good to eat with.
Yes, and things that sit on your stomach well.
And that's kind of what I'm saying, is things that are not going to make you poop through a Cheerio at 30 feet. Things that are good, that are easy to sit.
I think we did really well on the food.
We did really well. I had red beans and rice that I made here at home. I forgot the rice doesn't freeze well. So it was red beans and popped rice.
I cooked that sausage like I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Cut it into sections. And one thing I needed to do was maybe section it up some more in individual Tupperware, because I ended up reusing the same Tupperware.
Yeah.
To heat it up. So by the end of the trip, it was burnt up.
Yeah.
But other thing I made was homemade pizzas.
Yep.
And that was the best food out there I've had. I mean, it was real, because I cut them into small pieces. I had 3 or 4.
So if I had to do it again, and I probably will, as a matter of fact, the only reason I'm here this week is because I had my day job caused me to miss the 56-hour trip this week, which evidently it was a bloodbath.
Bloodbath good or bloodbath hard?
No, bloodbath good.
Okay.
Boat limiter blackfin, boat limiter beela.
Okay.
So, I would bring red beans frozen with sausages in it, chopped up in it,
mm-hmm.
and rice iceboxed.
Okay.
Okay. I would bring 4 or 5, on a 56-hour trip, I'd bring 4 or 5 frozen cooked hamburger patties because they have a microwave.
They do.
I would probably bring, I like hot links, so I'd bring some hot links where I can nuke the snot out of them.
Yeah.
And have roll-ups.
I probably wouldn't do much different than what I did, really.
Yeah.
I would probably bring more pizzas, because those little individual pizzas are pretty good. I brought 3 total.
Yeah.
I would probably bring 6. The sausage I would bring in. I'd bring some ketchup too this time. Really, that was more than good enough on all that. And the snacks was pretty simple: crackers,
some fruit.
So yeah, fruit
Stuff
was good.
that helps you make a turd.
Yeah. So 10 hours back, and I got picked. Oh wait, you forgot one fish. You forgot your AJ.
Yeah, I finally caught an AJ. I finally got an AJ on.
It's a good-looking AJ too,
but it's a big AJ. It wasn't a giant, but having fought several times.
Let's add some context to that. The several we have fought previously have always been with the 10-hour trips,
Yeah.
fishing rod. So it's the worst imaginable line you can have.
Yeah.
Bad
So
rollers.
the first one I ever took, I'm pretty sure it was a big AJ, a giant AJ. And we're on one of the 10 or 12-hour trips where they provide the tackle.
Yep.
And it's a crappy ass solid fiberglass rod
With a worn out Penn Senator.
with a giant Penn Senator and 100-pound mono. And I am hooked. I mean, Logan is backing away because I am bowed up on it.
At that point, it yanked you to the railing as hard as possible.
And I've got it loaded up where the line is running from the reel to the first guide under the bow and the rod.
Yeah, it was torquing that rod.
Logan's thinking the rod's getting ready to explode.
Yeah.
And it was either a giant AJ or a shark. It could have been either one.
I think it was an AJ after fishing.
I think it was AJ.
Because I had a similar situation later.
And then where the splash line starts coming up through the reel, and I'm looking at it and going, "Oh, that won't make it through the guide," and it didn't.
Nope.
And I mean, I am smoked up on it, 100%. Can't turn him around. And so this trip we stopped in the middle of the day, and on this trip, if you want to catch a big grouper, it's probably your best chance for catching a big grouper.
That was the entire point of us stopping here was to catch some.
3 or 4.
They I think they caught about 6 grouper.
Logan and I both
I didn't help on the AJ.
No, but what'd you catch?
I caught some little grouper thing. I don't have a picture of it, so I don't really remember it.
We caught a couple tile fish. Logan,
it was a tile fish and a sand something.
And Logan caught some other kind of jack. Almaco jack.
Yeah, an Almaco jack.
Yeah. And then right before we're leaving, my rod tacos over and 45, 50 pound AJ.
You were struggling holding it because you had it one arm and you were holding it, and it was a little struggle. So it was a good AJ.
Yeah, it was. It was 50. I will say we didn't put a scale on it because we couldn't keep it.
Managed to get 3 photos of it, and then we had to toss it back.
Yeah. It was serious.
Yep.
2-speed reel is in my future.
It's in both of ours. If I go on another 56-hour trip, there's probably about $500 worth of tackle I got to buy just because I got to buy 2 reels.
I would say, well, I'm buying a 2-speed reel for deep dropping.
Mm-hmm.
I already spent the money on the tuna stick. We'll see how that one goes. But it was the gist is, if you're gonna go on these trips, these are really not your average snapper trip or even blackfin.
There's no way for us to tell you how
find out, and I'm not sure how you would. Are we targeting blackfins? Or are we going to look for big yellow fins?
And that changes with the year.
I would say if it's November to March, you probably need to assume that you're going for yellowfins. And I've said this and I'll say it again. 120-pound yellowfin, it ain't no joke.
No. So we left right about 6:30 really on November 28th. We were at the dock at 4:00.
Yeah.
We returned by November 30th, 11:58 a.m.
Yeah.
Is when we had our tuna. Those aren't ours. Okay, yeah, that's when they started bringing the tuna off the boat. I will say, pooping after that trip they have the worst bathroom ever. They need to change that color because their bathroom at that place is all blue with like whitewash in it. So I'm over there on the toilet, like, come on.
So
But
yeah, after 3 days on the boat, walking onto a stationary toilet, it's a little challenging.
it
Even
was.
all the way back to the hotel.
So I had one big tuna. I think I had a blackfin. I had that Almaco Jack.
Yep.
I think, did we keep a tilefish?
Yes.
We kept a tilefish. You had actually like 3 yellowfin, but you only kept one.
So I had the very first yellowfin. It was 110 pounds. It was a lot of cranking, but it wasn't a lot of fighting because we're fighting it on an international that we've been trolling with.
Yeah.
A lot of fun, not knocking it. Then I had
You had
about a 70-pound yellowfin
you
that
could,
I caught on
the Halco.
a Halco, and that was a fist fight.
Yeah.
That was full on standing there going toe to toe with Tyson. Then I had a 45-pound jack,
Okay.
and that was like fighting Tyson's miniature brother.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I was wore the ass out.
So then you had the deckhands put you on one of the 2-speed reels.
Yeah.
After they got hooked up.
Yeah.
And you brought in like the second biggest fish on that one, I think. Because
I had another tuna.
You had one that topped out
deckhands had caught
125 or something.
They were throwing when you go on these, we all see the YouTube deal about throwing poppers. You need one popper.
Yes.
You need 8 Halcos.
Yeah, we needed more Halcos.
You need 5 jigs.
Yeah. We have plenty of jigs.
I mean, hair jigs, not slow pitch, not diamond jigs. I mean, subsurface, 20 feet down jig. So the deckhands were throwing floating fly fish.
Yeah, that's how they were hooking up most people.
You need 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
On a 100-pound weight. So they had one, and you just let it set, which is contrary to me as a bass fisherman, but that's what they say. They throw it out and let it float. Watching the flying fish, after they make 2 or 3 jumps, what that last jump, they're just kind of exhausted and they lay on the surface. And that's the way these flying fish lures are. They throw it out and you just let it set motionless as possible. So my third tuna came on that, and they hit it like a freight train.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like hitting someone with a sledgehammer while they're not looking.
Yeah. Cranked that sumbitch surface. Got him on board. He might have been 90 to 110.
Okay.
It was a good fish, not gonna lie.
So you had a couple other black fins.
I had a couple black fins.
And that's kind of it for the fish. That's it for the fish we had. There's a bunch of groupers caught. There's some beeliners caught.
Yeah.
That dude with his granddaughter, he caught probably 10 or so blackfin tuna all by himself in a matter of an hour. So we got back. They gave us our tuna. You have the option, actually before that. Well, no, you have the option of paying their people to fillet it and take care of all that, or you can take it home yourself.
Yeah.
Dad and I are discussing like, hey, Dad, I'm going to hop in line with our fish for that because I have learned my lesson. We have both learned the lesson. Don't take it home. And
no, I burned up a couple of electric fillet knives after snapper trips.
And I'm like, hey, Dad, I'll get in line for the fish. You go across the road to Dairy Queen and buy us 2 meals.
Yeah.
And that Dairy Queen has the best location just for that.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone was we were smart because we planned this before we got to the dock. But everyone else planned that after the dock. I mean, everyone was beelining it for that Dairy Queen. Dad luckily got in first. I think I paid like $40 for the. How much did we pay for the fillets?
It was under $100, but it
was worth
away.
it.
So they staked up the tuna.
Yep.
They cut us tuna steaks, black fins and yellow fins.
Any fish you had.
Because
I did my Almaco Jack too.
Yeah, and then they filleted the Almacos, and I think that was it.
Yeah.
We had tuna and Almacos that we kept.
Yeah, that's all we had.
Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah, like we're still going through it.
Yeah. We ended up with 70 pounds of tuna fillet or steaks.
Yeah.
And Almacos. So, because I think each of us caught an Almaco.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could buy that.
So
we did that. We brought both of our steel belted coolers.
Yep.
Because they would fit in the back of your truck. Because we took your truck. Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Or we took mine. I can't remember. It don't matter which truck we took. So that's what we did. We filled up both ice chests.
Yep.
And we still had the green ice chest that we took on the trip. And no, we took my truck.
We took your truck.
Because I drove the entire time.
We took both steel belts and my green igloo.
Yeah. So we got our fish fillets, said hi to the captain, talked to the can crew, gave our tips and all that on the boat. And if you're actually smart enough, they will give you ice.
Yes.
The ice that's on the boat that they didn't end up using, they will give that to you if you're smart. I was not waiting to be smart.
No, screw that. Ice is cheap.
I walked in and bought, they sell 20 pounds. I think I bought 60 pounds of ice. Driving from Dolphin Docks to the hotel is like 13 miles.
Including the ferry ride.
That was the most tripping balls ass drive I've ever been on. My hands were 10 and 12 like. And I'm like, man, we got to get there quick because I am crashing hard. I need to be stationary.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, I'm crashing. Dad's like, and Dad is doing the same thing in the passenger seat. And the only time it felt normal was when we were on the ferry.
Yeah, you get your water legs on this trip. Your water legs were
set in stone.
Quick and they came strong.
Then we got to the hotel.
Took a shower.
No, hold on. Got to the hotel and chick's like, oh, we got it. System's kind of down right now, so we got to do like. And I am holding on to the counter like, I need you to hurry because I am not in the mood and I will chew your ass out. Yeah. And she's like, okay. And we got through it, but even going up the elevator.
Oh, shit, yeah.
We went up the elevator, went into the room, got all our stuff, and we just crashed hard. Yeah. Dad just slept because it was 12 when we got in.
Yeah.
And probably about 1 when we left.
Yeah.
And we had 8 Dairy Queen, so big card crash.
Logan ordered Mickey D's.
Nope, that's the next day over.
Oh.
I did order McDonald's for that night, but Dad crashed for like 6 hours.
Yeah.
To the point where I woke up,
washed my ass, and it hit the bed. It went lights out.
I slept for about an hour and a half just to get under, and sea legs are still.
Oh yeah.
But I grabbed all our fishing rods, got them in the shower, cleaned off, dried in there, doing all that, and No, you only slept for about 2.5 hours because there was a point where we had discussed what we're doing for dinner. I just told you I'm ordering McDonald's.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. And you weren't intending to go to sleep. You just did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And McDonald's, they showed up right about the time I got finished with the rods. And I look over at you and I'm like, I better not disturb him. No.
I'm so glad you didn't.
I put your burger and stuff in the microwave because that's
Yeah.
what I do.
It's McDonald's, so it wasn't going to matter anyway.
And I ate. And you woke up about 2 hours later and you're like, what the fuck is going on? And he's like, then you go into the bathroom and like, why are the rods in the shower? Like, well, I cleaned them off. How long have I been asleep?
Yeah, I full on crashed. It was one of those deals where I'd slept maybe 6 hours over 3 days.
Yeah, and you're not young like me who can just ignore that crap.
Yeah, no, I am past that age, but I'm at the age where I cowboy through it, and then when it's not necessary, we're going to sleep.
So he did eat his Big Mac because you had
I ate a
Big
Big Mac, some stinky ass fries.
I am so glad we stayed that night.
Oh,
I don't know that I could have made it home that
oh
night.
no, yeah. There's a point in life where you look at it and go, "Oh shit, it ain't worth it."
Yeah.
And whether you are or not, I am damn skitty on that. We drive down the day before. We spend the night in a hotel. When we get off the boat, and it doesn't matter whether it's corporate.
Whatever we're doing, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm on board with either plan, except for that one. If we're spending days on the boat, it's just too much of a change for someone who's not used to that.
Well, and I agree. So
next day, which is funny because guess what happened again? I got up and like, hey, I'm ordering McDonald's breakfast. And he made a little fun of me. But right before I'm about to place the order button, go, hey, throw me some breakfast in that too.
Yes.
And the reason this is funny is because of a 12-hour trip 4 years ago.
A snapper trip. Yeah.
Yeah, so we went on this is going to be pretty brief. We went on a 12-hour snapper trip, stayed the night whenever we got back. Next morning, Dad's like, so what are we doing? Like, well, I'm going to DoorDash some McDonald's pancakes. Are you kidding me? Really?
Yeah.
Well, why? Like, because I want pancakes and McDonald's will bring it here. And we were staying at a motel that had no breakfast.
A crappy ass motel.
And Dad's making fun of me. And did you go, hey, I want some McDonald's too on that also? Or did you wait till I had my meal like, man, I want some of that?
So I will say, for the very most part, I'm as anti-McDonald's as anybody can be, other than the bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit. And I'm not a biscuit guy. I'm really not. But the bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit with some hot sauce like Cholula.
We always have hot sauce.
And grape jelly. That's pretty choice.
Yeah.
So Logan's eating pancakes, and
I think I had double ordered or something.
Yeah.
Because I had enough for you.
Yeah. There's a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit in there. And I've got Cholula in a glove box and grape jelly in the
He is salivating over there.
Yeah.
So now almost every time we do one of these trips, I always do this at this point. It's just this fun little thing we do. Yeah. But the trip back, I'm going to tell you, had we left from Dolphin Docks and went straight home,
oh shit, no.
I could not have fucking done that.
Oh no.
It was the next day. I had slept really, really well that night, but I still was. It wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't bad, but it was just enough to where I wasn't comfortable all the time. And there was a few times like, yeah, we're pulling over now and I'll say that stuck with me for about a week, really total.
Yeah, I was by the time we got home, I was done with the sea leg thing. Or the sea head, whatever you want to call it.
It wasn't really sea legs for me. It was mostly, head thing.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, when I was younger than you, I get truck drive for 19 hours straight. It didn't matter.
It doesn't matter for me. I drove I drove 17 hours
Yeah.
from here to Casper, Wyoming,
Yeah.
and was still okay.
Uh,
Meanwhile, Taylor's sleeping his ass off.
well, that's because Taylor was hammered drunk when you picked him up.
So,
But these days, I drove in from Pecos this week, which is 9 hours. I don't care what Google says; it's 9 hours.
yeah.
It took me a day and a half. So it is what it is.
All in all, was not my favorite trip ever, but I was real happy with the trip.
All in all, it might be my favorite trip. If it's time to fish and we're catching big fish and we're throwing lures at them, I don't see how that could get any better anywhere on the face of the earth. There's some fishing trips I still want to do. That's a bucket trip, but like I said, they had a 56-hour trip that left Monday, and if I didn't have a customer to be at Monday, I'd have been on that boat.
So I will do another 56-hour trip because I'll generally do at least, and I don't, as long as the trip is not during time of other shit. I've only got about 4 months of hunting season total.
Well, and that's okay. I understand.
That's part of the reason why I say it was not the best trip, is because my mind was occupied. I could be home. I could be duck hunting. I could be suffering in cold.
When you kill as many ducks as I have, that becomes less of an equation deal. But I understand.
Maybe so, but I'm not there yet, and I'm not. But if we did it in October, I don't think I'd have a problem.
Okay.
I probably can't do it this year for sure, just because keeping everything nice and open. I would definitely want to do a 56-hour trip.
Yeah.
In October or February, maybe March. Probably not March, just because with my business, that's when I really start.
Yeah. So
36-hour, I'm good with at any point in time. Because they offer a 60-hour and an 80-hour, and there's a place in Florida that offers 120-hour,
and that's kind of that's on my radar now.
My dauber is still hot for that one, I'll tell you now, but we are not ready.
An electric reel for that.
Yeah, we are not ready right now for that.
2026,
maybe 2027.
But 2026, 2027, depending on a nilgai hunt or an odad hunt.
Yep. So I know we rambled on. How long have we gone?
Shit, I don't know. Forever.
Hour and a half almost.
Okay.
So we're gonna bring this to a close. We were kind of all over the place, but
we stayed pretty on point.
So it's been a while since we've been on the trip, so it's not real fresh. Although we enjoy talking about this trip a lot.
Yes.
So we will probably do another podcast maybe next week, just to make up.
I'm good with that.
I'd be okay with doing that. We might not do. We'll figure that
20 minutes.
We'll figure out what we'll do it over next week.
Yeah.
If you could go and like and subscribe. I am starting to post these on Spotify. I just created an account this morning, and I have uploaded the first episode. If you could like and subscribe on our YouTube, 1584 Adventure. And we also have a Patreon where we release these a little bit earlier, and you get more videos, longer videos. If you could subscribe to that, that helps us build this channel and lets us do more adventures and more things with y'all.
Yep.
Any parting advice, Dad?
Shoot raccoons at every opportunity and have fun. We only get one life. Live the hell out of it.
All right. Well, I'll see y'all next time.